Hello, friends. Today we're reading the story, The Midas Touch. This is actually a Greek myth, so I hope you enjoy it. It's about Dionysus. He was the god of wine, agriculture, and fertility of nature, and the patron god of the Greek stage. Now, as we're reading, we're going to use two tools, a highlighter and a pencil. The highlighter and the pencil will be used to annotate the text or the story. That means we're going to write notes directly on the story. Those are going to help us understand the story better. Let's start with our highlighter. I just read this first line to you. And one of the words you might not know is agriculture. Agriculture is actually very popular in Missouri. It means farming. Now, boys and girls, I'm going to use a pen so you can see it better, but I want you to use a pencil. If you do beautiful handwriting on the paper you turn in to me, you might graduate to using a flower pen during our lessons. But you have to prove to me that your handwriting is easy to read and nice and neat. Another phrase you might not know is fertility of nature. And what that means, boys and girls, is that Dionysus helps things grow. Animals, plants. He helps make more so that the forest is lush and full of life. Now, boys and girls, you're going to use those two tools that we just talked about, your pencil and a highlighter, and you're going to go ahead and read the story with your substitute teacher. How about if we take turns reading? And if you have a question or a connection or you notice something, let's write notes about that. Please pause the video until you're ready for the questions on the back. Boys and girls, on the back are 5 questions, and we're going to take those questions and turn them into the beginning of our answers, and that's called restating the question. Our very first question is about vocabulary, and it says, what does the word agriculture mean? To restate the question, we're going to take out the question words, and that means what does. Now notice I just drew one line. I didn't scribble it out. That's so I can read it later if I need to. We're going to capitalize the T, and we're going to take out the question mark. The word agriculture means. I need to add an S. You do that too with your pencil. Now you have notes to start the beginning of your very first question. You can start the answer. You already know how to write down half of the answer. Our next question is cause and effect. Read over your question in your head as I read it aloud. Why did Midas ask for the power to turn things into gold? We're missing an S. That's a typo. Let's add an S to things. First, I'm going to take out the question words. Why did? Now let's read over it and see how it sounds. Midas asked. I need it to be ED, don't I? Let's add that. Midas asked for the power to turn things into gold, and I need a little bit more to get my answer started. I'm going to add the word because. I love this word because it always adds so many great details to your answer. You can always make your answer better if you add the word because. Our next one is paraphrasing. The question says, what does the author mean when he writes, the king began to dance about like the baby lamb before its transformation? We need to take out some of those question words. Now, paraphrasing can be a little difficult. There's always more than one way to restate the question. So if it makes sense, go ahead and use it, But for today, let's go ahead and follow my example. I'm going to go ahead and cross out everything to he. And actually, I should have left when, so I'll have to add that back in. Capital W, when the author writes, the king began to dance about like the baby lamb before its transformation. No question mark. He means. Friends, please remember this comma, these quote marks, and these quote marks. Because the question takes a line from the story, it has to have quote marks around it. It's telling us that Mrs. Bonner didn't make up that line. It's from the story. Make sure you write down these notes. You're going to need them later. Next one is critical thinking. Explain why the statue of the king's daughter might be called Innocence Surprised. I'm going to take out the question words first. Remember, just one line. And we want to start off with a capital letter. The statue of the king's daughter might be called Innocence Surprised. Then I'm going to use that magic word. Because. That's going to help us add detail to our answer. Number 5 is creating. And it says, write your own myth about gaining a magic power from Dionysus that does not work out to be as wonderful as you might think. This does not have a restate. So I'm going to write on here, no restate. I'm just going to start my story. So let's go ahead and get a piece of notebook paper and get ready to answer our questions. Does everyone have their notebook paper? Notebook paper is kept by the door. Okay, here's my notebook paper, and notice that I have the holes and the red margin on the left. And my title box is at the top. I'm going to go ahead and start my title on this blue line next to the red line. And I'm not going to go not even halfway up. Remember, titles start with a capital letter. And this is the part where you really want to give Mrs. Bonner your best handwriting so she can see if you have graduated on to using a pen. The Midas Touch. And then I'm going to go all the way to the right side and write my first name. It's still on the top line. I'm going to skip a line. I'm going to make a 1. Don't forget your name. Looking back at my questions, I see that number 1, the heading is vocabulary. So I'm going to write that down. Capital V, O, C, A, B, period. I'm going to abbreviate it. You need to start with your heading. Remember, I skipped a line. Right under the word vocab, I'm going to start with my restate. Remember, that's the part where we reworded the answer to start with part of the question. I'm copying this right off my paper. Capital T, the word agriculture means. Now, if I don't know how to spell something, I can look right at my paper. That's called environmental print, and it helps us every day with our spelling. I remember we talked about agriculture, and I hope you wrote notes down because your answer is in the notes. I'm going to pretend like I'm writing the answer, but it's not the right answer. So make sure you don't copy my answer. This one would be marked wrong. When you're ready for number 2, and it's okay if you're not ready yet, I'm going to leave this on the board for you. You're going to skip a line and write number 2. Again, I'm looking at my heading. It's right here. And I'm going to copy it right off my paper. Cause and effect. Remember, I skipped a line. That helps to make my paper nice and neat. Right underneath, I'm going to copy off my restate. I'm not coming up with anything new. I'm copying off the work I've already done. Midas asked for the power to turn things into gold because. Wow, doesn't that already look like I have a big answer? And I haven't even put the important part down. I just restated the question in the form of an answer. That looks like a lot of work that we've already done together. Good for you. Now, friends, I'm going to let you write your own answer. Look back in the story. See if something sticks out to you that could be the answer. And you might be wondering, is there one right answer? Is there only one answer? No, there's not. I want you to look through the story and see what makes sense to you. And all you have to do is try. It's okay if you get it wrong. We're still learning how to do these articles together. If you use the whole front page, please feel free to turn it over to the back so we don't waste paper. Only if you have a full front side and a full back side should you get another piece of paper to work on your story. I can't wait to read your answers and see your beautiful handwriting, and I'm really excited to read your versions of the Midas Touch story that you've created yourself. I will be back next week, boys and girls, and I'm excited to look and see what you have done today.